Ladies and gentlemen, the modern dating scene is broken. Some might say irrevocably. Male virginity is on the rise, women only find 20% of all men attractive, and according to studies, women are becoming angrier and unhappier the world over. Something is clearly going very badly wrong. I, however, am not pessimistic. I believe that modern dating can be fixed, or at least that individual women and men can improve their choices and situations. But it's going to take several things for this to happen. Knowledge, communication between the sexes, and a collective dropping of our egos. But is the typical narcissistic modern female really ready to drop her ego quite yet? And is the basement-dwelling simp male loser ready to get real and make the changes he badly needs to make in order to have a chance at survival in this gladiatorial dating arena? I don't know, but I'm here to try and make it happen anyway. For those of you who don't know, my name is Troy Francis, and I've worked as a dating coach for the past decade, helping men who've had a problem getting women to improve their results. During this time, I've coached literally thousands of men in cities all over the planet, from Moscow to Miami, from Warsaw to Bogota in Colombia. I've also, for the want of a better term, been an online influencer, writing blog posts and books, shooting videos and appearing on countless red pill podcasts such as Fresh and Fit in Miami and Pearl's pregame show in London, where I've had the privilege of arguing with a great many young women about precisely what a high-value man really is. I also have to tell you that despite my fresh and youthful appearance, I'm actually getting on a bit right. Right now, I'm 49, which means that the big 50, my half century, is just around the corner. Look, I know you didn't ask for my life story, but I'm telling you this as a kind of introduction to my channel. And the point is this: I've been around the block a few times, and I've seen firsthand how the dating scene has shifted from the pre-smartphone era right through to the modern hellscape of dating apps that only favor the top 5 or 10% of guys, OnlyFans, sugar babe sites, and all the rest of it. I've also remained unmarried, amazingly, and let me tell you, it's taken quite some skill to do that, but that's a topic for another video. Of course, I've been in long-term relationships, but for the most part, I've been perpetually single and dating for my whole adult life. And being a degenerate bachelor has probably only fueled my interest in this stuff further. After all, if you're going to play the game long-term, it really helps if you understand the rules and the other players. Always something of an introvert, and having a naturally analytical nature, my passion is understanding and dissecting intergender and social interactions and relationships, really getting under the hood of this stuff and figuring it out. What all of this means is that I'm in a unique position as far as commenting on these societal trends in dating goes, and I'm confident that we can all find a solution together, possibly. Up to now, most of my online content has been addressed to men. My coaching business and my whole focus really has been helping guys to improve their dating because, I'm not gonna lie here, it's tough out there for men, especially men who, for whatever reason, are not regarded by women as being in that mythical top 20%. But now I believe it's time to broaden the conversation out. Now I want to address women as well. Because you see, if we're going to have a shot at fixing modern dating, then it simply has to be a team effort. Both men and women need to understand one another better, and we need to see where the other side is coming from and what it is we need to fix in ourselves if things are going to change. Several red pill shows on the internet have already sought to address this balance, which is why podcasts now routinely feature or bring women on as well as men in order to talk about these issues, which is great. The only problem is that the approach on many of these shows is very combative. Hosts will often take women to task in a quite aggressive way, as though they're taking them to task on behalf of all the other guys out there. And you can understand that, that's fair enough, but I don't want to do that. I genuinely want to help women. After all, as Rollo Tomasi, the so-called godfather of the red pill, has said many times, men and women are better together than when they are apart. With that being said, often the best type of love is tough love. And the truth is that a lot of the dating advice out there given to women by male dating coaches and by the mainstream is a bunch of complete BS. And if we really want to improve things, then we're going to have to get used to some tough talking. If we're going to dissect this dating stuff, then we need to see things as they really are, not as we would like them to be. So think of me like a friendly uncle who you can turn to in times of need, or perhaps a more degenerate PUA version of Piers Morgan, ready to talk about modern relationships in an open-handed manner, but unafraid to call out the BS when I see it. So let's return to the topic at hand. Is the current malaise in modern dating all women's fault? A little bit contentious, I know, but we may as well start off on a good foot. Well, I hate to say it, ladies, but there's certainly an argument for that. Take this from a recent article in the New York Times entitled, "Why Aren't More People Getting Married? Ask Women What Dating Is Like" by Anna Louie Sussman. Daniel Cox, a senior fellow at the American Enterprise Institute, who interviewed more than 5,000 Americans about dating and relationships, found that nearly half of college-educated women said they were single because they had trouble finding someone who met their expectations, versus 1/3 of men. The in-depth interviews, he said, were even more dispiriting for a variety of reasons. Mixed messages from the broader culture about toughness and vulnerability, the activity-orientated nature of male friendships. It seems that by the time men begin dating, they are relatively limited in their ability and willingness to be fully emotionally present and available, he said. Well, you know, as so often happens, men are immediately blamed for this disparity in dating, with the fairly nebulous charge that they are unwilling or unable to be fully present and available. Whatever that means. What the hell does that even mean, right? Drill down into the qualitative research a little bit more, and some interesting insights begin to emerge. One 22-year-old respondent said that she's mostly looking for affirmation that her partner is invested in their relationship. She said, "We ask for simple things, remembering things that we talked about in conversations. Flowers occasionally, date nights, every once in a while. Just to have that reassurance that our relationship is worthwhile and feeling like we can spend really great quality time together and share special moments." All of which sounds fair enough, apart from flowers. I mean, come on, this is 2023. But of course, wanting a boyfriend to remember at least some of your conversations and give reassurance is fine, until you ask yourself why this woman chose to be with someone who is clearly avoidant and seemingly not that interested in her in the first place. After all, again, this is 2023. There's a simp epidemic going on out there where men will happily spend their life savings on OnlyFans models. It's almost certain that this woman could have found a man who would have brought her flowers every day if she'd really wanted him to. Could it be possible that instead she chose a man who just wasn't that into her because, being in the top 20% of men, he was somewhat out of her league? Well, here's another quote, this time from a 27-year-old woman. She says, "A lot of women I have met, a lot of my own peers who are the same age and are still unmarried, they're out there looking for Mr. Perfect. He's got to be over 6 foot, he's got to make so much money each year, his family has to be perfect, he has to agree with all of my own personal beliefs, and, men are human too. They're not going to meet all of those expectations." And herein lies the problem, or part of the problem at least. Women's expectations of men are simply too high. Or, to put it another way, women are fighting over that top 20 percentile of men, and they're not prepared to reduce their standards one iota, or even to consider the possibility that perhaps, in some cases, they are aiming too high. The research also, though, suggests that men are being unrealistic. I think men are still looking for a type of woman that doesn't really exist anymore. They're looking for that 1950s housewife type woman. And that's just not the type of girls that I think are out there today. This is quoted from the survey. A lot of girls want to go to college, they want to have a career, they want to make a name for themselves in the world, and then they want to settle. So what that seems to be indicating is that in most cases, men basically want what they've always wanted, a nice woman to settle down with and probably to start a family with. It is women's expectations that have changed. Now, they want a career before settling down, and they will also only consider settling with a top-tier man. To be clear, I don't blame women for this. After all, who doesn't want the best outcomes for themselves in their own personal lives? But you can see why some would argue that feminism has ruined everything between the sexes, because right now, we're in a situation where the gap between expectations and reality is wider than it's ever been before. And unfortunately, I can't see things changing anytime soon, unless we take the initiative as individuals to alter our own paths.